So as you can see behind us, we're here on the dual carriageway, where it will be busy 24 hours a day. And what we're bringing to you today is the update on the Ulez. We're out here in the rain for you in the Gwenton show. That shows how dedicated we are. But what we're talking about today is the expansion by Sadiq Khan at the Mayor's office with this Ulez, where everyone, I'm talking everyone across London, is now going to be asked to pay £12.50 a day. Yes, people, you heard me. £12.50 a day to drive in London. It's as if they want us to all get bicycles and get rid of our cars. They claim that the pollution is so high that all the people with older cars, so if you've not got a 70 plate or a 21 plate and you've got some of the older models, a lot of people like their old cars because it's something close and personal to you. Now you've been told to get rid of your old cars. Nobody cares if it's an antique. They want it gone because they claim you're killing everyone. Yes, you heard me. All you people with the older cars, you're now considered murderers or attempted murderers because they're blaming you for all the deaths and all the young people getting asthma across the city. All you people have been blamed for that. But something I want to ask the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, as he's on his high at the moment. When you take your car in for an MOT test, it doesn't matter if you've got a 21 or a 70 plate car or a B-Reg, BMW. They're all tests for the same amount of Ulez. So how does he come to the decision of saying that the older models are polluting the air even more? And we go even more further than that. When we're looking at, now we're in the summer period, even though it don't look like it with all this rain, a lot of people will be getting on planes. And as we know with the chemtrails, the planes are polluting the earth more than any car could ever imagine to do. So what are your thoughts on it? Because I know what my thoughts are. And I'm not happy at all. £12.50 a day, times that by 7. That's like paying a rent for a one-bedroom flat in Kensington and Chelsea. Have you got that money to waste? Are you happy? Was your voice heard by Sadiq Khan? I'm good friends with Rosamond, who lost her daughter down at Lewisham, near the dual carriageway, travelling to school every day. So I support the traffic zones not being blocked up. But this isn't what I'm seeing here. What I'm seeing is mini traffic jams everywhere. So if you're going to expand the Ulez zone, at least remove these plant pots. Because these plant pots are causing a lot of traffic. Don't be afraid to have your voice heard. Don't just sit in silence. We're talking about gas prices, electric prices, the cost of food because of Brexit. And now we're going to have to pay £12.50 a day. Have you got £12.50 a day? Because I know I haven't.
I'm 75 years old and I still work 4 days a week. I'm a market trader. And it's going to cost me £3,000 a year to go to work.
By saying you've got to pay 12 quid to come in, all you're going to do is shift that cost onto a customer, onto a coffee shop that needs delivering of its things, onto a small shop, onto, whatever size business it's going to be. The cost is going to be continually put on someone else because I can't swallow 12 quid every day of the week. It's 60 odd quid.
We're trying to claw our way back, build up clientele. Now, I dare say Mr. Khan has now imposed this on us, making it impossible.
He's absolutely ruined my business, 30% already into use in Ulez, and now he's heading to ruin my business 100%.
I'm sorry to say, he's bringing London to its knees. He doesn't care about business.
The Mayor, Sadiq Khan, is to press ahead with the capital's ultra-low emission zone after 5 Conservative-led councils failed in their High Court legal bid to stop him from expanding the scheme. Khan has described the judgment as a landmark decision and pledged to do everything possible to address any concerns Londoners may have about the scheme's expansion on August the 29th. It's due very quickly indeed. This means drivers of vehicles which do not meet minimum emission standards are to be charged a £12.50 daily fee just to enter the Ulez zone. So I'm delighted I can now speak with the founder of Fair Fuel UK, Howard Cox. Howard, thank you very much. This High Court ruling, bit of an obstacle, no, to those who want to see the back of this Ulez expansion.
Yes, I attended the ruling that was made yesterday, and quite honestly, I was when I listened to the judge actually dismissed 3 of the claims from the borough councils, the 5 borough councils that actually brought this judicial review. He dismissed them completely. I was absolutely sick to the pit of my stomach. I could not believe what we were hearing. And I have to say, I must blame the Conservative borough councils for not having teeth in their when their barristers spoke. I attended the actual court case a few weeks back as well. And fundamentally, the most important thing is in all of this is that they didn't get across that, and we must remember that judicial reviews are about the actual process of getting to the decision, not the decision itself. And what we heard was that we didn't hear the fact that this dishonest mayor manipulated a public consultation process, actually disregarded certain people's responses, and 5,000 of those came from Fairfield UK supporters who rejected it. And the fact that 2 out of 3 overall objected to this, and yet he still went ahead. And the TfL themselves have actually said, Emily, that this expansion will not make any demonstrable difference to the air we breathe. So we just don't understand how the judge arrived at this. But in procedural terms, he did the right thing because he followed the law to the T.
Well, that's very frustrating, what you've just said. I am, for one, sick of these consultations, these public consultations that don't seem to have any impact at all on decisions. We see it all the time at the local council level. They go out to consultation, these policy changes, and people write in and they say, I don't like this for X, Y, Z reason. And then you find out a couple of months later that the policy goes through anyway, and there's no point at all. It's just part of the process. But what's next for the anti-Ulez campaign then?
Well, obviously, there is an chance of an appeal, but this issue is actually taxpayers funding one side and taxpayers funding the other side. So it's just more money taxpayers are throwing at this. So we will be looking at crowdfunding to try and do this. But to be honest, the way it goes, this judge, I think, would throw out any appeal completely. I think what we've got to get across to the people is to Keir Starmer and also Mark Harper, the Transport Minister, that this Ulez expansion is completely unnecessary and needless. I spoke to Keir Starmer about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I said, how can you actually keep a dishonest mayor is a member of the Labour Party? He's brought your party in disrepute. He manipulated a public consultation agreement to favour his own career-driven approach to actually introducing Ulez. And let's face it, Ulez is a cash grab.
But Howard, I mean, he does a good job of, pulling on the heartstrings and coming up with statistics, perhaps you'd say manipulating statistics around all the children that are suffering from asthma. No one wants to see children suffering from pollution and adversely affecting their health. Do you think that he's been manipulating what we're seeing in this respect? What do you think?
Absolutely. The health fatality data he uses, the 4,000 deaths in London every year, is complete and utter lie. I actually did a freedom of information request of TfL and him personally. Say, please, could you send me the 4,000 death certificates? The fact is, what this was done was based on a model. You remember those, Emily, models, COVID modelling and all that sort of thing. This model actually said that right across Europe, and Imperial College was involved in this one as well, what it said was that actually they divided the number of people who actually potentially could die of air quality issues or breathing issues like asthma or obstructive pulmonary disease, those sorts of things, and work out in a modelling scheme. And don't ask me the full details because I'm not a statistician, but the outcome was the operative word, premature. And that premature death was something like a week over someone's lifetime. So this is a complete manipulation to get, as I repeat, a cash grab for an inept manager of our capital's budget.
Well, and we saw in Uxbridge that most people can see through the political jargon and all of this from Sadiq Khan. It really is. I do feel for people and businesses who are going to really suffer from this huge cost. I've seen stories of people, you know, £250 a month extra it's going to cost them just to get to work. Families really, really, really worried about this all. And people just say, oh, it only affects a few people. It doesn't matter, you know, it's all for the benefit, it's all for the benefit. Well, at the same time, talking about the cost of living and cash-strapped families, but not putting the two together. But thank you very much indeed, Howard Cox there, founder of Fairfield UK.
With the cost of living crisis and everyone feeling the pinch, have you got £12.50 a day to pay to drive your own car in London? Let's hear what Sadiq's got to say about this.
This is about bringing in policies that will support Londoners, make the transition towards a city where it doesn't lead to around 4,000 premature deaths a year. Children having stunted lungs, adults with a whole host of health issues.
So let's do the calculations of this. £12.50 a day, there's 7 days in a week. That comes to £87.5 a week. Let's times that by 52 weeks. That is £4,550. I'm going to repeat that for you. £4,550 to the penny. How many of you have got £4,550 to spare? I haven't. That's the cost of a small car by itself. Where do they expect us to get this money from? We're not even negotiating of how to find this cost. The mayor's not giving us an allowance. He's not giving us a contribution, a reduction. He's just charging us. What are your views?
I'd say the biggest scandal of the century.
The scrappage scheme would offer people £2,000, but Auto Trader have done a survey and looked for cars that are for sale, second-hand cars that are for sale, that meet the needs of the scheme, and there isn't one available at the moment for less than £15,000. So that £2,000 isn't going to touch the sides, is it?
What's she going to do for people like me who can't afford to buy a Ulez compliant car and don't fulfil any of the scrappage scheme criteria?
3 years ago, they were begging me to lease a brand new full transit van for £200 to £220 a month. I inquired yesterday. The salesman turned around and said to me, "You'd be lucky, mate. Years waiting, and at least I'll be heading to pay off with all the hidden fees, touching near enough £500 a month."
So it's more than doubled and there are none around. Standard, if you were running a business with a fleet of 6 vehicles delivering for an internet retail giant, then you think you would be entitled to scrappage, but because you're a sole trader, you're not. Have I understood that correctly?
That's exactly right.
Well, that stinks, Sadiq Khan.
It just demonstrates that this guy is all about politics. He's got no idea how ordinary Londoners live. And frankly, if he does, he clearly doesn't care.
So what are your thoughts on Ulez?
My thoughts on Ulez, I don't think it should happen because I just turned 16 and I want to drive a car as early as possible. I mean, I come from like a household, we don't have a car. A few people have a car in my house, so I don't understand. I want to be one of the first ones to drive. But like now, since Ulez is going to come in from like, because I don't even understand it. I understand it if you're going to put it in the central area for pollution, but I don't understand it because now it's going to send all of the car prices up. It's going to be harder to drive, harder to move around, mobility important. But like, yeah, I think it's just, I don't understand why Sadiq is going to do this. He doesn't care for the people.
It doesn't affect him, remember, he could get a taxi wherever he wants.
Yeah. Personally, I think he should just shut up and reverse it all.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand it. Like, what are the young people gonna do now? Because is it like £25 a day to drive?
£12.50.
£12.50. So if I had like a truck, like a moving truck, like a big truck, it's gonna affect the businesses because you can't. So I'm not gonna do the maths, but like that's £25 in 2 days. So I wouldn't understand it.
It's £4,550 £550 a year for one person.
No, you have to cut it out. Cut it out, Sadim. I don't understand it. I don't understand it because what are people gonna do? What are the working class people gonna do?
Yeah.
House prices are expensive, yeah. I don't understand it. He's just trying to gentrify the city. He's gonna make electric cars everywhere, make it some metropolis. But like, I don't understand it.
It's his decision to go ahead with this scheme. Yes, he may have won in court, but just because he's got the power to expand Ulez across Greater London doesn't mean he should and make life more difficult for people.
It's time to talk about Ulez. It's here, it's about to expand, so what does it mean for you and your cars? So let's go and pick up the Collecting Cars Defender, take a deeper dive into the subject and see if we can spot some cars which are compliant and those which are not. So what is Ulez then? It stands for Ultra Low Emission Zone, and it's London's way of bringing or improving the air quality in the capital. And we're in support of that, but what it does mean is that there are those of us who have cars in town which will now have to pay not only the congestion charge, but the Ulez fee. The congestion charge is £15 a day, and the Ulez charge is £12.50. So that's £27.50 a day. That's a lot of money. And so there might be a number of us who decide to change their cars, swap around, get something newer, get something that's compliant. Dare I say, get something electric for when you're in town and your toys when you're out of town. And if that's the case, then those of us with cars that aren't Ulez compliant might be thinking about selling them. And if you are, now is a great time before, of course, the Ulez zone expands. Get over to collectingcars.com, list them for free, sell them for free. Get the most money you can for those cars. So the Ulez zone operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day except Christmas Day, and covers the same area as the congestion charge zone, but that's about to expand. Now, although the Ulez standards specify that petrol cars after 2005 qualify and therefore don't have to pay the charge, there are some exceptions. You see, way back when, before the Euro 4 standards were released, some of the manufacturers were given the standards early so they could preempt this in manufacturing their engines. So there are some cars, and in fact we've sold one on the site, which is a 2002 Mercedes-Benz SLK, which is actually Ulez compliant. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not an age thing, it's actually whether the car qualifies with the Euro 4 standards. And because Mercedes developed that engine with that in mind, and they developed that early, they just decided to put that engine in those cars as soon as they developed the technology. So you do have some circumstances where there are cars going around which you can't just tell by their number plate perhaps that they are going to comply with those standards. So as you can see with that Mercedes-Benz example, it's not always straightforward, but you can go over to the government website, as I said, put in your registration and find out whether your car is compliant or not. This Honda CR-V here, that definitely is not compliant, so regardless of whether that's actually petrol or diesel, that is an older vehicle which will not qualify. So sadly for him, £12.50. Cha-ching! 69 plate Volvo, that will be okay, probably is a diesel, but that's alright because that's after 2015. What else have we got down here? 2013 C63 AMG, very nice. I think they'll be alright. But let's pull over somewhere, grab a cup of coffee, and then just get into the nitty-gritty a little bit more. So we've stopped and parked up here in Battersea Park, and I've printed out these details from the government website just to get a little bit more specific about what does and doesn't comply. So what it says here is that cars need to meet a minimum emission standards when travelling within the ultra-low emission zone, ULEZ, or you face the daily charge. Now, we've discussed earlier that the daily charge is £12.50 for those petrol cars. And the ULEZ is enforced based on the declared emissions of the vehicle rather than the age. However, petrol cars are generally those that meet the standards that are first registered with the DVLA after 2005. But of course, we know that that Mercedes example that we gave of a car that we sold on Collecting Cars was a 2002 Mercedes-Benz. And because they complied with the Euro 4 standards, that was ULEZ compliant. So that car is older than 2005, but complies with those regulations. And there are a number of other cars that could be old as 2001, which also comply. So again, it really is worth checking. Diesel cars, though, are generally those that are first registered with the DVLA after September 2015. So the diesel cars need to meet the Euro 6, the petrol cars need to meet the Euro 4 standards. What about bikes then, I hear you say? Well, bikes generally need to meet the Euro 3 emission standards, and those were those that were registered with the DVLA after July 2007. So currently the ULEZ zone is the same as the Central London congestion charge zone, but that's set to expand from the 25th of October up to, but not including, the North and South Circular. So all great news for the environment, and we support that, but what about those who love our cars and drive them to visiting London or living in London? That does mean that we're going to have to make those sacrifices, maybe decide to even sell the cars or stump up for the cost.
I think personally, I don't understand it. I really don't, because why should pollution? Why should I be forced to drive a car that's like new and it's going to be expensive now? And I come from like not enough money in my background. There's not enough, so I've always taken London transport. There's not a car with our family, so I don't understand it. Why if I'm going to get a car, I have to pay £12.50 to drive it. I think even if I spend the money as a young person, I need to earn the money. So I feel like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because they just want us to drive electric cars, and there's not enough infrastructure yet. There's not enough infrastructure yet.
Where is that money going? Is it going back into the community? Just like the poker fund, where the police keep the money for themselves. Is this what Sadiq Khan's also planning to do and give raises and tax deductions to all his mates?
There is a war in relation to climate change. It's really important that we realise it's not us versus them. All of us benefit from cleaner air. All of us benefit from fewer admissions to hospitals because of respiratory issues. All of us benefit when people aren't taking time off work because they've got ill health.
There are low emission zones in other UK cities and many more planned in the coming years. All of them will be watching the battle in London closely as a test of people's tolerance for change.
Thank you.